My sense is that this great city of Toronto is growing a little bit weary as the winter lags on. And it's more than the weather, the cold, and the latest snow. There's something else that's taking hold, and I want to name it, call attention to it, and see if we can talk about it. I think it's important to talk about it. In addition to personal losses that I know some here tonight are carrying, there is a wider spread concern in our city. We feel it in the weight of how expensive the city is. Some people are struggling for rent or school tuition, and that's real. I believe the recent announcement about the mayor is demoralizing for all of us, and we have to be able to talk about that too. The violence that is on public transportation is a worry. I spoke with a congregant last week who was just in the wrong place at the wrong time, and now is rattled and worries about walking the streets of this city that she loves, that she's been walking proudly and confidently and without any fear for all the decades of her long life. And you may have heard that white supremacists have united under the banner of a day of hate, which is this weekend. And so synagogues everywhere in North America are just a little bit on edge. And so the month of Adar comes right on time, as it always does. So Tuesday morning, we welcomed in Rosh Chodesh Adar, the new month of Adar, which is colored by the carnival festival of Purim, which is on its way. And Adar has a way of laughing in the face of hardship, a kind of mocking laugh to say, I will laugh my way through this life and embrace all the good that there is, not denying the good that is missing or the good that is under constant threat. But for a moment, I'm going to laugh because some of these sorrows are only lightened, the burdens are only lightened through laughter. The rabbis of the Mishnah teach us, Mishenichnas Adar Marbim B'Simcha, that when the month of Adar enters, our joy increases. And one way to understand this, I shared Tuesday morning, is that we should increase our joy in the month of Adar through the intensity of life, meaning we should be willing to take some risks, whether it's through business or in love. Adar is the month for intensifying our joy and a willingness to step outside our comfort zone and even laugh in the face of hardship. Now, Rabbi Marmer of blessed memory, Alav HaShalom, used to teach us that a Jew is someone who knows how to cry with one eye and laugh with the other. That is a life skill that we should hone. And I'd like to share just two teachings with you, one very old and one relatively new, about laughter and the sacred virtue of laughter. So the first comes from the Babylonian Talmud, which was closed around the year 500, and many of the stories that are captured there, woven together with the laws that are captured there, are stories of great imagination. So this is one of those stories. Eliyahu Hanavi, Elijah the prophet, who was a biblical character, long gone, and yet he kept company with different rabbis from time to time. So one day, Eliyahu Hanavi is walking through the marketplace with Rabbi Barucha. And the rabbi's asking Eliyahu Hanavi, who has ascended to heaven long ago, I'm curious, of all these people in the busy marketplace, who has a place secured for them in heaven? And the rabbi points out a very upstanding businessman who has honest weights and is always true to his word. And he says, surely he's guaranteed a place in Olam Haba, in the world to come. And Eliyahu HaNavi says, yes, of course he has a place. And then the rabbi says, and look how this woman is giving tzedakah to the poor, how she's wandering through the marketplace and privately in dignified ways supporting those who are in need. She has a keen awareness of who needs a little help, a little lift through tzedakah, through generous giving. And Eliyahu HaNavi says, yes, of course, she has a place in Olam Haba as well. And so the rabbi says, okay, and who else? And Eliyahu HaNavi points to two brothers who are dressed in tattered clothing and are doing a juggling act. They are buskers in the marketplace. And so the rabbi goes over to them and says, please tell me, who are you? And what motivates you to do what you do? And they say, we are jesters, and we cheer up the depressed. Whenever we see two people who are quarreling in the marketplace, it can happen from time to time, we intervene and we strive to bring a smile, which will then in turn lead to shalom, to peace between them. The next story is from the early 19th century, a great Hasidic master, Nachman of Bratslav. Now, we know that Nachman of Bratslav was grappling with depression throughout his lifetime. He was probably bipolar. The way we can read his biography now, we can see high highs and low lows. And so he spent much time thinking about depression and made a spiritual practice out of pursuing joy. And he had all kinds of ways of pursuing the joy that he sought, including going out into the fields, going out into the forest, and emptying his heart to God in a loud outward prayer. But in his teaching of the book called Likutei Moharan, he talks about simcha, he talks about joy, and he pulls up a metaphor that everyone here knows, and that is the hora. Picture for yourself all the concentric rings that make up that joyful dance at weddings. And Rabbi Nachman of Bratslav says, when people are happy, they dance. And they're at the center circles. 1, 2, how many rings? All happy with a joyful dance of union. But inevitably, there are always some who are on the outskirts, who are feeling gloomy or low. And so it is up to those in the hora dance to reach out their hands to those outside and draw them in to the dance, to draw them into happiness. Rabbi Nachman of Bratslav says that even within his self, he feels those concentric rings. Sometimes he's on the inside of the dance, and sometimes he can only bear witness, and he's weighed down by the gloom of the demons in his life and the suffering of the world. And he says the best thing to do then is not to ignore the gloom, not to deny the depression, but instead to take it by the hand and to introduce it to the joy. That there needs to be a meeting, there needs to be an introduction between the suffering and the happiness. And that way, we are more likely to increase the odds that happiness will take hold. So I want to invite you, might be one of the reasons why you came tonight. Maybe you were prompted for a little lift through the music, through the prayer, through the instruments, through just being together on Shabbat. And now, if we're feeling filled up, we have a task, and that is to reach out, literally, to reach out to someone we know who might be feeling a little low and invite them into the circle, to introduce them into that joyful center throughout the month of Adar and beyond. May it be a joyful one for each of us.